Hello there, and welcome to Jump Button Gamer Podcast. I'm Mike Woodard, that's Kosta Viennis. I'm the Panic, he's the Disco. On today's show, this is it, we're in the home stretch. We have two opponents facing off. Millions of people have already decided who they're going to go with. Both sides are going to want to claim early victory, but won't really know who won for a while. And of course I'm referring to the console wars between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. We will discuss both sides have had basically campaign ads that are aimed to get your money. So we'll talk all about that in our console wars segment. And of course we'll discuss the unfortunate news of Cyberpunk 2077's delay yet again. But of course, as always, first, Kosta, there's a little bit of an update to last week's chit chat that we started the show with. We started talking about the Uncharted movie. Mm-hmm. Mark Wahlberg posted a picture on his Instagram with a full-fledged mustache. So he's got the mustache. Obviously, for people who don't know, Mark Wahlberg is going to play Sully, the character of Sully in the Uncharted movie. And we were wondering last week, how is Mark Wahlberg going to look playing Sully? Because there were rumors that he might not have the mustache because of some on-set photos. But I must say, when I saw that photo, I was like, okay, I see it now. I can see him visually as Sully now. And I think it actually looks like a decent match. I just don't know about his voice, because Sully has this deep drawl type of voice, and I don't know how Mark Wahlberg's voice is going to translate to that.
I guess we'll find out. Obviously, him being a A-list Hollywood actor, he'll be working with a voice coach, a dialect coach, or whatever, and try and get within the ballpark of how Sully's. But obviously, he's also a younger Sully as well. Yeah. So, with him being a younger version, he might not have to have nearly as much age and grit in his voice.
I guess so.
So they'll probably work it to where there are hints of a familiar voice, but just a younger version of it.
Yeah, I mean, because Sully's voice has this grovel to it, and just any Mark Wahlberg role, all I can think of is he just he doesn't have
Boston.
A bad voice or anything, but yeah, it's a very distinct Boston, and it's not really a deep. It's slightly higher pitched, not all the time, but it's definitely a higher pitched voice. So it's just, again, it's just an odd thought. It's translating that thought in my head. A trailer will obviously be definitive for us to get a good look at it, or listen to it, I guess.
Well, I think the thing is because obviously Mark Wahlberg's, I can't think of a role where he's ever had to put on a voice. He's always sort of been able to be himself, in a sense, but I think, again, him being an A-list Hollywood actor, I think that, I think he'll surprise us.
He's never had to put on a voice, especially when he is a Bostonian portraying a Texan in the Transformers movies. He didn't feel the need to put on a voice then either.
I mean, you can also just make the point that he could have been a transplant or whatever, maybe not a native Texan or whatever. Honestly, I can't remember the full plot.
I'm an inventor.
Oh,
this could be a game changer for me.
Well, anyway, I honestly I think he might surprise us. I'm gonna keep my enthusiasm and my hopes sort of reserved for it, but just from the little bits that they are putting out, especially the promo image of Tom Holland, there's definitely something there to be excited about.
I think there's definitely a reason for optimism. I actually didn't realize the movie's being directed by Ruben Fleischer, however you say his name, I apologize. And he directed Zombieland, and along with other films, but that's one of the ones that sticks out in my mind. And I mean, maybe Zombieland 2 wasn't that great by comparison, but I think this movie has a decent shot. It has a good director, it has some good actors in it, and as long as the script is good, as long as it's funny and enjoyable to watch, I mean, I guess I'm talking myself into being a little bit more excited than I was initially, especially now that I've seen this picture of Wahlberg.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's, I don't know. I feel like we're starting to get to that point where live action video game media is actually getting to where we've been waiting it to get to. It's eventually going to get to that level of comic book films,
right.
superhero films.
Right. Which is hilarious because the big thing about Uncharted 4 was how great of a job that game did at emulating a movie. Mm-hmm. So now we have what is this art that imitates life that imitates art, like art that imitates other art imitating other art.
I mean, the biggest challenge I think has always been that most video games tell stories over 10, 12, 15, 20 right. Tens and tens of hours, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're trying to take all of that and you're trying to condense it down into 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's always been the biggest struggle. But, again, a game like Uncharted just suits itself so well to being, seen as an actual movie, since the games themselves have sort of shifted into being like pseudo, like interactive movies. Mm-hmm. But not only, I don't know if you have this on our list of things to talk about, but Netflix announced that they are doing Assassin's Creed.
You know what? It's good that you brought that up because that totally left my mind. But I knew I wanted to talk about it, but just in the setup for this episode, I didn't. I totally forgot to write it down. Right. So I'm actually glad you brought that up. So
well, and to me that is because I think I don't know if I've expressed this opinion to you or to someone else, but I've always thought that video games would work best as a series.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because it gives you much more time to tell the story. Right. I thought Netflix did a really good job with The Witcher. Mm-hmm. And even though The Witcher also existed prior as a book series before it was a video game, but still though, they I think for the first attempt they did a really great job. I'm super excited for the second season. Yeah. But now they're tackling Assassin's Creed. The film was awful. Okay. Yes. Like I honestly thought that the Assassin's Creed movie was going to set back live action video game media for like 10 years. Yeah. Like because I'm like, who in their right mind at this point is going to want to tackle a video game movie? Because Assassin's Creed was really, really, really bad. Like one of the worst movies I have ever seen. But now you've got the Assassin's Creed series on Netflix. I mean, Uncharted, I think, works well as a movie.
It does, yeah, I agree.
I know that there's like a Gears of War movie being planned. There's a Borderlands movie being planned.
There's a Super Mario movie in the works.
Super Mario, but that's going to be animated.
Yeah, it's animated, and it's by DreamWorks, which kills the excitement for it. Remember, they're the Minions movie guys, so...
Yeah, but they're also the...
Can you just imagine Mario with the DreamWorks face?
But they're also the How to Train Your Dragons people as well.
Yeah, but is that a fluke series? Like how Pixar has always had great movies except for the Cars series was like their fluke bad series.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of opposite with DreamWorks. Well, they have more buzz. And they have one, and is How to Train Your Dragon like just a good fluke series for them?
Well, it was a well built and thought out trilogy, and I mean the first two Shrek films were good. I mean after Shrek 2,
that's true,
not so good, but there's something there. I mean I honestly if not Pixar, then I think DreamWorks would have been the next best option. How to Train Your Dragon, I think is like where they'll lean. Anyway, but I don't want to divert too much. This is a video game podcast. We're talking about it. We're almost 10 minutes into the show, and we're talking about movies.
Hey, you know what? But it's on theme, and that's fine. But I agree. I do think Assassin's Creed will do well as a series. It'll be interesting to see, are they going to kind of try to do retelling of the origins of the games? Follow the same path the games went, or do they go anthology series style with a connecting over story? I don't know. They could go anywhere, and it looks like they have multiple series plans apparently. So we'll see how that works out.
I honestly think it'd be interesting if they told a story prior to the first Assassin's Creed where we meet Desmond. Mm-hmm. Because because we know from playing the games that there were other people that Abstergo had, right? That they use to get memories and things like that, and so I think that could be an interesting approach because,
right,
with what we know of Abstergo, post, Assassin's Creed 3, like once Desmond's story is finished, I don't know if that is necessarily going to be interesting enough. Because obviously you have to have the animus aspect of the storytelling.
Oh, right.
Though, admittedly, like, I don't know. I'm going to be curious to see how Abstergo or, like, the animus technology plays a role in, in Valhalla. Because I remember, I think it was... Because it's changed over time. I think it was with Assassin's Creed... Unity, well, Black Flag was like you were like an employee at Abstergo, and and you were
an employee who
like,
had to always carry their tablet with them anytime they got up from their desk. I found that kind of ridiculous.
Right, and
I get it for gameplay mechanics, but it's kind of ridiculous concept in real life.
And what was it in Assassin's Creed Unity, which I thought was the weirdest one? It's just like you're at your home, and you have like you are. Like doing like a quality assurance test for an Abstergo game, so you're essentially like helping, like you're not even realizing that you're helping like modern day Templars. Like they're like, oh, here's this you're basically like streaming a game on your TV and you are playing and exploring it for Abstergo, but you don't realize it. Like you're just like a Q&A tester or like a beta test player. It was really weird.
That is weird.
And honestly, well, Unity wasn't a great Assassin's Creed game anyway, ultimately.
Sure.
So
Valhalla has to have a work from home animus. They have to keep up with the times, Again, they have to be relevant.
They've completely, to this point, they've completely ditched, the animus as we knew it.
Right, of course.
When Desmond was a part of it. Obviously, they brought the traditional animus. Well, they brought it back for Assassin's Creed. Origins,
right?
Because you had the one woman in the cave, and she had the animus and everything. I have not played Odyssey, so I actually don't know how they implemented Odyssey.
Me neither.
But I am interested in playing Valhalla, so I'll be curious to see. So, but I think that will determine the approach that Netflix takes.
Enough with the chit chat. Let's actually get into the show, and let's start off with talk about what we're currently playing. Costa, what have you been playing recently?
Well, the latest expansion for Pokemon Sword and Shield just came out, the Crown Tundra.
That's right.
I've been dabbling in that. I haven't gotten too much into the the story of the DLC.
Sure.
I've been playing this new feature they introduced called Dynamax Adventures, and that's actually been a lot of fun because in the main game they introduced the max raid battle system,
sure,
where you go in these dens and you fight these gigantic versions of Pokemon, and you can either battle them with 3 NPCs or 3 other random people, or friends if you set that up, and you have to beat it in battle and then you can catch it. Now with Dynamax Adventures, what they've done is you can play with either 3 NPCs or 3 other people, and at the beginning everyone you have a short list of rental Pokemon to choose from, so you don't use your own Pokemon. You have rental Pokemon that you can select, and then you sort of have to work your way through sort of this tunnel maze or whatever, and you battle 3 Pokemon who are Dynamaxed. If you beat them, it's 100% catch rate. You catch them at the end, and the 4th Pokemon at the end is a legendary Pokemon.
Oh, nice.
And
now, new legendary or classic
all
legendary?
Of them. All legendaries.
Okay,
all legendaries that have ever, with the exception of a couple, but all legendaries from all the Pokemon games are there. And again, if you beat them in battle and you catch them, it's a guaranteed 100% catch rate. Now, at the end of it all, you look at the 3 non-legendaries and legendary you have, you get to pick 1 to keep. Now, generally you would think, you always would just pick the legendary Pokemon and move on. But the thing is, though, is once you pick that legendary, you can't go back and catch it again. It's one and done. So there are people who like to shiny hunt for the legendary. So, but you won't know it's shiny until after the fact, until after you've caught it. So, of course. So essentially, what you can do is, if it's not shiny, then you just pick one of the other 3 Pokemon, and then you just do it again, and you can save up to the location of 3 legends at a time, and so you can just keep doing the same one over and over and over and over again until you get until you get like the shiny version of it, and then you can keep it, and then you can move on to the next.
That sounds cool.
But it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely a nice, because the raid battle system was okay. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan, but this is a more fun version, especially with like the reward of a legendary Pokemon being at the very end of it, which is kind of cool.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but I remember reading something that some of like the new legendary birds are going to fly around different areas of the map, kind of like how the dogs used to in Gold and Silver.
They did bring roaming legendaries back.
That's cool.
So the Galar versions of the birds roam around, but it's not as I would say nearly as difficult to track. I mean, some people say it's kind of difficult, but the thing is, like, you can go online and each bird, like, one bird's actually like on the Crown Tundra map, the other one goes to the Isle of Armor map, and then the other one's in like the wild area of the main game. And you can look around, you can find them and stuff like that. And so that's kind of a nice little nod that they brought that feature back.
That is cool.
But I do have to dig further into the story. Like, I haven't really gotten. I've basically, ever since I got to the what they call the Max Layer, the Dynamax Adventures.
Sure.
Which you get to like 15 minutes into the DLC. I've just been doing that the whole time. And the only other thing I've been playing, I actually started playing Among Us. I played a few rounds of that.
Oh, really? Okay, you're sus.
Yeah.
You're automatically sus to me.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, especially when you're playing with a bunch of friends and whatnot. I'll admit, like, the first time I was an imposter, like, I was kind of quiet. Like, I didn't do a whole lot of talking. And because like no one really suspected me, because they're like, oh, he's new at playing it or whatever. I managed to kill a couple people, but I was just sort of like quiet the whole time. I said a couple things, but me and the other imposter in the group, we ended up winning. But I was only the imposter. So I probably played like 5 or 6 rounds. I was only an imposter once.
That kind of reminds me of in high school, in one of the last few days of the year. I think it was like my sophomore year. We were in class, but there was nothing to do in class, and so a bunch of friends of mine, well, maybe not friends, but like the class together was like gather around playing the card game BS, and the girl who won because she was the quietest person and did nothing. Like nobody ever called her out on any of her bluffs, so she won the whole thing, and that's what that reminded me of.
Well, the funny thing too was, I think because of how quiet I was and the fact that I won. Like, normally I'm a pretty talkative person. Like,
Nice.
in case you can't tell, for anyone who's listening to this, I'm pretty talkative. But the thing was, like, I was still learning like the names of the different rooms and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I was able to sort of play off the fact that I was still learning things. Like, I came from this. I think that's the area I came from. Like, I'm still learning the map and everything like that. So that sort of played into my hand a little bit.
Whatever.
What else? Oh, the one moment that was really funny was that there was somebody who I very highly suspected was an imposter, and I happened to see them pop out of a vent in the floor. I'm like, I knew it, and immediately I got killed. Right after that, because there was no one else in the area at the time. And I was just like, and of course, like, once you get killed, your mic gets muted, so you can't talk or whatever. So
okay.
I mean, it's a really fun game. I mean, I get why a lot of people enjoy it, why a lot of people play it. I think it's definitely more fun to actively be a part of than it is to watch someone else play it.
Oh, okay.
Because I will say, because like once you get killed in Among Us, you're a ghost and you can still like roam around and sort of keep an eye on things. Right. But granted, your mic gets muted, so you can't talk to anybody. Obviously, because then you could say who the imposters are. Right. But it's not nearly as fun, being an observer of it.
Sure.
I know a lot of streamers are playing it, a lot of people watch it, but it's a lot more fun to actively be a part of a game of Among Us. So that's what I've been dabbling in.
Nice. So from one multiplayer, I guess it's not really a battle royale, but I'm going to call it a battle royale just for comparison's sake, to another, as I am still playing Super Mario 35. I got up to 21 first place wins. Nice. That's how many I have. I don't know how many matches I've played in total, so I don't really know what my ratio is. But it's still just the perfect time killer. So I was going to play another game this week, but some news came out that made me hesitate on it. And I was going to go back and play Shadow of Mordor. Or, no, I'm sorry, not Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, the sequel. Mm-hmm. And I was going to replay it, and, I was kind of, getting myself, okay, I just got to... Because I had to switch to a PlayStation 4 Pro not too long ago, and I think my game save is gone. So I was going to have to start from the beginning, right? I was going to have to probably even re-download the game onto the console and everything like that.
Right.
So it was just, it was getting me in the mood to do that. And then it was announced that Shadow of War will be available to PlayStation Plus members for free starting in November for both the PS4 and PS5. Mm-hmm. So I was going to play it, but I'm like, well, at this point, I might as well just wait until I get my PS5 and play it then, so therefore I can skip the ungodly long load times of that game, hopefully. Mm-hmm. That's my hope. So I was going to play that. Also, I just bought Watchdog Legions on Amazon. And I bought it on Amazon from a disc because it was only $50. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, why not? I'll get the disc. And I'll get the free upgrade to the next-gen consoles. So I figured I might as well buy it for $50 now and get the free upgrade. So, and then I ended up having Amazon reward points. So it really didn't end up costing me anything. So I will hopefully have it and play it enough by next week to have some impressions of it. Because I'm very interested. I liked Watch Dogs 2 for the time that I played it. I didn't actually finish the game, but I did enjoy playing it. So I'll be interested to see how this recruiting permadeath system works. That'll be very interesting. And like I said, hopefully I'll have some information about that for next week's episode. And maybe, eventually, I can do a comparison of how it runs on the PS4 versus the PS5. So we'll look into that in the next few weeks, but... Alright, so in just over a week, the next generation of games will be upon us. On November 10th, the Xbox Series consoles will be released, and then they will be followed shortly by the PlayStation 5 on November 12th. So, in today's Console Wars segment, we're going to talk about what I called earlier in the episode, campaign ads from both sides that we've seen over the last few weeks or so. And so let's start off talking about the Series X, Costa, because I'm sure you saw this video where Microsoft released, I call it a QVC style video, where they had two employees boot up the system, and they basically wanted to walk us through how the system would be from when you first booted up and going into a game and stuff like that. I'm sure you saw the video. What were your impressions?
I mean, it all looks good. I mean, I don't know how much else to add to it other than what I've sort of said over the last several weeks as we've been awaiting these consoles, because Microsoft has been pretty upfront,
right?
With information about the Series X and the Series S and everything. So, just sort of getting to see everything in real time and how it's all going to look and run. I mean, it's impressive. I'm. It's one of those things just to see someone on a YouTube video do it, but it's completely different once you actually get your hands on it.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I mean, it's just like seeing a game demo on YouTube. You really can't get a full appreciation for a game until you actually get to play it, And if you're someone who has a 4K TV and you get to see it, in full 4K resolution, and whether it runs at 60 frames per second or whatever. It's completely different, but
sure.
I mean, obviously, I'm excited for Series X to get one. I don't know what I'm going to do to try and be able to get a hold of one.
I'm just imagining you with like a cardboard box sign on the side of the road, like we'll do something for Xbox Series X.
I mean, I don't know how desperate I would be.
Kidding.
I mean, like I said, I'm willing to scour the interwebs and maybe drive to a couple of retailers to see if they have it. But if places are sold out, then I'm just gonna have to wait.
Right.
I mean, as much as I would love to be able to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right away on a Series X, I know it'll look nice and it'll play just as well on a Xbox One X. Probably minus the I don't think it'll be running at 60 frames per second on a One X, but it'll still be in 4K and and the game looks great, so I don't think it's gonna it'll still look great, and I'm sure it'll be a fun game to play.
You know what I'm excited about that game they announced recently? That Ireland is going to be part of the DLC. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in that. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I'm so. Like I said, I'll play the waiting game if I have to. Sure.
One way or another. I'll get my hands on one. Phil Spencer actually did come out and he admitted that inventory outside of the ones that are already allocated for by pre-orders is going to be thin.
Yeah, I heard that.
He said the availability of the Series X. It's probably not going to be more readily available until the springtime. Mm-hmm. You'll have extras pop up here and there. So if you're lucky, you can get one. But if not, you're probably just going to have to be patient. My whole approach is, if I can't find one between, launch day and like around the time Cyberpunk comes out, which we'll be talking about that a little bit later, then I think my game plan will just be wait until spring. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunate that you might have to, but yeah, this is so tough because both consoles, like we've said before on the show, the pre-orders sold out like what, in seconds, maybe like minutes, like there wasn't really much hope. I got lucky, and I know I got lucky now because Sony recently came out and said that they sold, I think, more pre-orders, like in the whatever. I forgot what they said, how exactly they worded it, but basically they sold more pre-orders than they sold consoles of the PS4 in its first 12 weeks. Yeah. So like this is crazy. The demand for a new console is insane. And it's the weirdest thing because it's like, this has been a terrible year, right? I mean, with everything going on, the pandemic, everything like that, it's been a terrible year. But this year kind of actually sets up perfectly for gamers. Like, this is actually a good year to unleash a new console because we're all home. We're all dying for some experience that just gets our minds off of our current dystopia-like conditions. And so it just sucks it sucks if you can't get one, it's like that's brutal and the only reason I say this because like I got an email not too long ago from GameStop where they basically just said like they wanted me to like update my payment information, I guess just confirm it or whatever. And like when I saw that email, that's when it felt real for me. That's when it was like, oh my god, we're right on the verge of next gen consoles. And I got kind of excited over this last like week or two. I've been kind of watching every next gen video I possibly can. I watched the Xbox Series X video just because I wanted to see how I'm not going to get a Series X, but I wanted to see how it operated, how it booted up, how the quick resume worked. And yes, we have had explainer videos already, but it was cool to see it in, I guess, like quasi real time, because I mean, that may have been edited a little bit, but it didn't look like it. So I'm just going to assume that it was a real time, two guys in a studio. And And that's the also frustrating thing on my end is that Sony still feels like they're like a week or two behind. You know, it's like they gave everybody a PS5, like content creators or sites like IGN and Game Informer and stuff like that. They gave them all PS5, right? But then they said, "Oh, wait, you can't take it out of the box yet. Yeah. Like you can only show people off the retail box. Why?" And then like finally 3 or 4 or 5 days later, they're like, "Okay, now you can unbox it." But apparently, and I just heard this in a podcast, they apparently are still not allowed to talk about the system plugged in, which doesn't make any sense to me. It's like they can talk like about like the controller a little bit. They can talk about like some things, but like Sony's being so weirdly specific about their embargoes, and it doesn't make any sense. We are right at the, you know, we're just over a week away from these consoles being launched. Who cares anymore, Sony? What are you doing? They've already come out and admitted that they've sold more than the PS4 sold in 12 weeks, in its first 12 weeks. So what are you worried about? Yep. I don't get it, but in some of the videos that we did get, they did show off gameplay of Astro's Playroom, which is a pack-in game for the PS5. And it's funny that you brought up how Among Us is different when you play it as opposed to watching it. Yeah. Because what I've heard about Astro's Playroom is that the experience of playing it is so much better than watching the gameplay demo. You know? And it's kind of cool because the demo takes place like inside the PlayStation 5. Like, the first level that they were able to show off is called Cooling Springs, and apparently it takes place where the fan would be in the PS5. And apparently, inside the PS5 in this game is a beach. So Astro starts off, like, sliding down a slide, and then he lands in this beach. And basically, all the people who have played this demo have all said that the experience of holding the DualSense controller and feeling those haptic feedback and how that rumble plays into how you're experiencing the game in your hands. Yeah. It is a much different experience. Like, it's almost like it's kind of realizing what the PS4 was trying to do with, like, the speaker and the controller, which didn't really get utilized after a few games. You know, and again, and how much developers utilize the DualSense is a big question. But I watched the Astro's Playroom video, and I'm just like, I'm excited now. I just want to play that, because it looks like a super cute, like, almost Mario-like game. Yeah. Did you see any of that stuff?
I saw some like, screenshots and stuff of it, like, on Twitter. Yeah. I mean, it does look fun. I mean, all of these new next-gen games that are coming out look fun, you know. Yeah. And even the older games that are getting upgrades. I'm actually really, one game that I haven't mentioned that I'm actually kind of excited to jump in and play on a Series X is Gears 5.
Ooh. Nice.
And that they've upgraded it, runs it well, I think you have the option of playing it at 4K 60 frames per second, or you can play it in 1080 120 frames per second.
Whoa, interesting.
And I mean, Gears 5 already is an amazing looking game, and so but being able to play especially a shooter at a higher frame rate, like 120 frames per second, would probably be a lot of fun. And actually they announced in the upgraded version of Gears 5, which will be included like on Game Pass and stuff like that. They are actually, because apparently, in the multiplayer they had released Dave Bautista as a multiplayer character in the multiplayer, but now they are actually putting him optional. Obviously, if you want to use him as a replacement for Marcus Phoenix in the story. Oh, apparently they had Dave Bautista re-record all of the dialogue from the campaign as Marcus Phoenix. Man. And you know, apparently Dave Bautista has been putting out there that he really wants to be involved in the planned Gears movie. And, he fits the type.
He
right?
definitely does, yeah.
And I think he would make a good Marcus Phoenix in an actual live-action Gears movie. So, I think this is, like, his chance. Like, he is now, like a digital version of himself is playing Marcus Phoenix in the Gears campaign. So, that's like an added little bonus.
If they do all that, do they have to get him back for the next Gears game if they ever make one?
No, because I think if they inevitably, I'm sure they'll do, Gears 6 or whatever. Sure. And, Marcus Phoenix as a character, like, he himself is, I don't know if he's quite up, if he's, like, at the same level as Master Chief, but he is essentially, like, the other, like, Xbox mascot.
Sure.
I mean, Gears of War has been, around for the Xbox family of consoles for a long time now, and it's, honestly at this point it's been more consistent and better than the Halo series has been. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's filled in the time gap that has been left by the Halo series in a way.
Sure, but and also the storytelling's a lot better too. The narrative, the writing for the Gears games has been better over for the last few games compared to Halo. So I think that it's really, I mean, it's neat. It's a neat little addition to give incentive for someone who may have already beaten Gears 5. Like, right. Now you can actually play through it again, but this time with, if you're curious to see what Dave Bautista might be like as Marcus Phoenix, here's your chance to see it.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, no, that definitely sounds like fun. It's funny that you bring up old games becoming remastered and all that, or at least played on a new system, because I was also going to get into... I know we've brought it up before, but the PlayStation Plus collection is Sony's somewhat semi-answer to Game Pass right now. Mm-hmm. And so when you buy a PS5 with a PlayStation Plus account, you're going to have like 20 free games, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they've added to that list of games that you're going to get for free, because the PlayStation Plus free games for November, like I've mentioned already, is Shadow of War and Bugsnax, which is a new game that is being made for the PlayStation 5. So that's another reason to be excited for the console, because it's like when I get this console, like in a few weeks, I'll have 23 free games that I could play. Or, I mean, and again, we could count upwards too if you want to count Astro's Playroom as a pack-in game. You can also count GTA 5 is being re-released for the system. So you have almost up to 25 games that you can play right off the bat. I mean, that's insane. I couldn't believe it when I heard that, when they announced that they were releasing a brand new game on PlayStation Plus as well as Shadow of War. I was like, oh man, I'm not going to get any work done next month.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're taking what is essentially the Game Pass approach,
right?
Because if Halo Infinite had not been delayed, then anybody who has Game Pass that purchased a Series X would have had Infinite to download day one.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's how Sony competes with Game Pass. I mean, I don't know if they'd be willing to take that same approach with, say, obviously they're not doing it with Miles Morales.
Right.
They're, so that would tell me that they wouldn't really do it with, say, like, the God of War sequel that's scheduled to come out next year. Like, all of their major AAA, heavy hitters, they're going to make everyone pay for. Pay the $50, $60, $70, whatever it might be, for it.
Yeah, I mean, Sony has already come out and said that they don't believe the subscription the subscription model is sustainable. Oh my God, I can talk right now. But like I said before, I do think like a series of like collections would make sense, like themed collections at certain times. Mm-hmm. Like maybe like a horror theme collection, at some point. Stuff like that I think would be a good idea, a smart idea. But it's just exciting for somebody like me who, I just kind of want new gaming experiences at this point. So some of these games that are being released I haven't played yet, like Days Gone is one of them. Detroit Become Human, Bloodborne. I mean, I might not play Bloodborne, but like, you know, some games that I wasn't willing to play, like The Last Guardian, I wasn't going to spend money on that, but it's there now, you know, so it's like, I might as well. But so all of that is very exciting. We're less than a week away, man. I mean, well, just over a week away, I should say. It's crazy. Like, I'm shocked that we're already almost here. I mean, nothing in this weird, bizarro, you know, alternative dimension of a year feels right. So, but it's like, this is almost like the closest thing to normality we can get, is getting excited over the launch of a new gaming generation. So, moving on to last week in game news. The biggest news this week is the most unfortunate, as Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed yet again, even after CD Projekt Red promised on Twitter that there would be no more delays. But here we are. So the game was delayed by 3 weeks, and it will be released on my birthday, December 10th. Kosta, how much of a bummer is this news? Or is it like, okay, like because we're still, it was 21 days, so it's not like, you know, the same thing happened to The Last of Us Part 2, where they had shipping issues, so they had to push the release date back a few weeks as well, like right when we were getting excited about it. So what did you think when you heard
the difference is for Last of Us is that it didn't get delayed 3 times prior.
That is true. That's good. That's fair.
Now, funny, the game's come out. The game originally, if it had stuck to its original release date, it would have come out the day after my birthday.
Oh no!
Like I remember when they announced it as an April release, I was like so excited. Like I was gonna take like an extended birthday weekend off of work, and I was gonna play it. You know, well, I guess it's. I mean, it's okay. I mean, ultimately, you know, this is the biggest game of the year. Yeah. You know, this has been a game that has been hyped up for a while now. I mean, Cyberpunk got officially announced back in like 2015 or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. It's
been a while.
Time.
It's been a while, and you know, we're getting so close to having it come out, and I can understand, like, you know, CD Projekt Red, like the pedigree of games that they create, they want to put out as perfect an experience as they possibly can, and a game at this scale, I mean, you know, there are bound to be bugs and mistakes. I mean, sure. But Bethesda games are notorious for having bugs.
Yes,
right? That is, you know, a
name a more iconic duo.
right.
Than Bethesda and opening day bugs.
Exactly, and so I can understand them wanting to make sure that the game is as polished as possible, you know. So, I mean, is it a little bit frustrating, a little bit disappointing? Yes. But do I understand it? Yeah. So, I think
it sounds like it's the current generation of consoles that's kind of screwing them up, because based on the wording from like their statement, it seems like at one point they were maybe gearing for the game to be a next gen only. But then they kind of backpedaled from that, and then it just seems to be like maybe that is the issue. Well, I mean, obviously they've come out and said the issue is they're putting out 9 different versions of this game.
So I will say, yeah. So I think the consoles that are holding it back are the regular PS4 and the regular Xbox One. Like, I think the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro aren't the issues. Like, sure. they're technically considered last gen consoles by the time the new ones come out.
Right.
But those are the beefed up version ones, right? You know, so I can imagine Cyberpunk maybe running into some quality issues on the original Xbox One and the regular PS4. You know, but I mean, but that's admittedly though, I gotta say, like, this to me sort of speaks to like a management issue. like, I don't think it's necessarily on the developer's shoulders. Like, these people have been working away, probably putting in 80, 90 plus hour weeks trying to get this game across the finish line.
Sure.
You know, and I mean, they even announced like a couple weeks ago, the game had technically, quote unquote, gone gold. Like, means that they started printing at least the disc versions of the game. Right? So for anyone who actually buys the disc version of the game, God, how big is that day one patch going to be?
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be massive, right? Compared to someone who pre-orders it digitally, you know, then everything's just all in the download.
I enjoyed all that internal space I had on my new console until I downloaded this one game.
Right. So, because it's like, you know, the fact that this game was initially intended to come out in April, right? Right. We're talking 8 months earlier than now what the current release date is.
Yeah.
You know, I think it comes down to a management thing. I think I just don't think they properly accounted for the time it would take to get things right.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, when you get this close and you have to delay it, you know, it's definitely somewhere along the line there was an oversight.
I mean, obviously, Cyberpunk is probably, you know, it's one of the most ambitious games, you know, ever. You know, just based on scale and everything else. So, I mean, there's a lot on the line. Like, this game's got a lot to live up to.
Right.
I mean, it would probably, like, if this game were, I mean, I doubt it will. You know, I think it'll meet expectations. But if this game under-delivers, it would be the biggest flop in video game history.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely, probably, especially of, like, current gen era, like the current gen, like the like in recent times, it would probably be like the biggest flop of recent times.
And especially again, you add in the fact that new consoles are coming out. You know, this game, you know, and especially if you're someone who gets a Series X, like you don't have like the killer app of Halo Infinite to look forward to.
Unfortunately.
So you're looking forward to Cyberpunk, right? So it has to deliver. If you were someone who does not have a high-end gaming PC and you were putting your eggs in the Xbox or, you know, obviously PS5's got Spider-Man stuff, but if you put your eggs in the Xbox basket, you're like, I'm looking forward to playing Cyberpunk, you know, on it, and it doesn't deliver, you know, I mean, how much of a bummer is that going to be?
Oh, yeah.
But again,
that'd be devastating.
I fully expect it to meet all expectations, but it's just like, you know,
right.
I mean, God help them if they end up having to delay it again.
Oh God!
Like, imagine if they have to push
if
it past
goes into
Christmas
next year. Yeah, if it goes into next year. Oh my Lord!
And I think was it Jeff Keighley actually came out and said that the December 10th release date actually is past their cutoff point for it to be considered Game of the Year.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So that means Cyberpunk will have to be considered for Game of the Year 2021 rather than 2020.
As it comes out in 2020. Yeah.
And really, I mean, I think you could still possibly win, but you're going to have a lot more games to compete with.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
You know, 2021 looks very loaded even as we speak right now.
I mean, you'll have, by that point, hopefully, Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
You know, you'll have most likely the next God of War. You know,
Horizon Forbidden West would be a potential contender.
Yep. And you know, we don't know really many of the release dates for some of the stuff that Microsoft has shown off, but maybe one or two of those games could be a 2021 title. You know, so you just don't know. Like, they're gonna have a whole lot more competition for that Game of the Year title next year, and these will also be games, especially like God of War and Halo Infinite, that they've had all this time to be built and optimized.
Yeah.
For they will be taking full. I mean, sometime in the spring, Cyberpunk will get its true next gen update.
Sure.
You know, with improved, you know, textures and frame rates and everything, load times.
But in terms of built from the ground up.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm still looking forward to it. You know, Still might have to take once that date's locked in and I know there's gonna be no more delays, then I'm going to lock in that time off. Whether I have a Series X or not, even if I still only have my One X to play off of, take some time off and just sort of lose myself in the game.
Do it. Anyway, so so that was the big delay news this past week. Last little bit of game news we wanted to talk about before we move on. There was a not as significant delay on Sony's end as they delayed Destruction AllStars, which was going to be a launch title. It's another Battle Royale. I know it's probably not on a lot of people's radars. I just wanted to throw it out there because it was supposed to launch with the PS5, but it's been delayed to February 2021 instead. Which, when I heard people talk on other podcasts, it actually sounds like this was probably the best move for them, because that Battle Royale game would have launched at like a terrible time when people are playing Spider-Man, they're playing new Xbox games, this would probably be a much better idea to move a Battle Royale game, into its own maybe release spot. And then also that, I think it's also coming free to PlayStation Plus members, from what I've heard. So that's also a good move, because if it's free, I have been gobbling up free games recently. Anytime I hear free, I'm in. So it's like, I might download that game just because it's free. Yeah. Obviously I'm a PlayStation Plus member, so I mean technically it's still paying for it, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
I think was it Ubisoft I think also announced that Far Cry 6 is getting delayed.
Yes.
Sometime into quarter 2 or technically into the 2021 fiscal year. So sometime between, was it April 2021 and February 2022? But it'll probably be 2021 still. But also I think I had heard because. Ubisoft will probably be moving 2 games because I think they have another game called Phoenix Rising. Oh, yeah. And Cyberpunk's move now puts it in the same release date as Phoenix Rising. So if Cyberpunk does not move, I would imagine that Ubisoft will be pushing back the release of Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, that's definitely... That's one of those where Ubisoft probably heard the new release date from Cyberpunk and just went... Oh, darn it!
I mean, if it were Assassin's Creed, then they're probably like, all right, we'll try and go toe to toe. But this is a whole new game for them, and this is Cyberpunk again, the most hyped up game of over the last 5 years. So yeah, they're gonna be moving. Maybe they'll put it in the spot that Far Cry's vacating.
It's possible. And then one last little bit of thing, just because I saw it today and I thought it looked cool. Spider-Man Miles Morales is getting the Into the SpiderVerse suit. Oh, cool. So you can, and so not only is it the suit, when you are wearing the suit, it has a lower frame rate, so it matches the animation style of the movie. So your character moves at a lower frame rate. Yeah, if you get a chance, look at the video of it. I know you're getting an Xbox, but still, look at it because it looks almost just like the movie, and it's very impressive. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. You already have me, but it's like, it still looks so awesome. It almost feeds into my idea of just like, why didn't they just make an Into the Spider-Verse game? Because then they could have had the same actors, or they could have connected everything, but whatever. We've been through all that. Don't need to go through it again. Yep. I still stand by it was a great idea, though. Wrapping up, as always, it's time for Jump Button Trivia. This is a running game between me and Kosta where we try to guess the name of a game based on 3 lines of that game's review. We are given 1 line at a time, and if we can guess the game correctly after the first line is read, we get 3 points. If we need 2 lines and then we guess it correctly, it's 2 points. If we guess it correct after all 3 lines are read, we only get 1 point. And then it's 0 points if we guess at any time and we're wrong. So no matter what, if we guess at any time and we're wrong, 0, that's it. We're done. Last week, we added an amendment where after the second line, we can ask 1 clarifying question. Just one question to help narrow down our line of thinking. So other than that, that's it though. Costa, what's our score again? 11-10?
You're up 11-10.
Okay, cool. All right, why don't you hit me with yours first, since I've hit you with mine first for a few times the last few weeks. So
Okay. All right.
give me your best shot.
First clue. Blank visually pops. Like the Easter Bunny on an acid trip. Its bright colors, punk rock attitude, and nose turned up in the direction of authority all meld together wonderfully.
Oh. I have an initial guess, but I don't know if I'm ballsy enough to go with it yet. That last line really makes me think. Oh, because obviously this is a game where style is very important, so if it stands out that much. And then you have the authority. Oh, man. This is going to be one of those. I don't know, but I might regret not going for the 3 points. Oh. I mean, either that or I could be totally wrong. Oh, I really want to go for the 3-pointer. I really want to. But I'm going to chicken out. Can you give me line number 2, please? And I'll probably hate myself after this.
Okay. But while it might be a bit complicated, the result of mastering the systems and eventually being able to make it across the entirety of the city without ever setting foot on the pavement is wildly satisfying.
Oh. Okay, my thought process is a little bit different now. All right, my clarifying question. Was this game made by Insomniac?
Yes.
Sunset Overdrive.
That is correct.
Yay! I thought at first it may have been Jet Set Radio.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the style and pop and the line about authority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you're spraying graffiti everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I have to read what the final line would have been, because I had to laugh when I read in the review. This all was very short. Now all I want is for Insomniac to make a Spider-Man game.
Oh! Yes!
That's what the reviewer wrote.
That's amazing. Well, I hope that reviewer also had a PlayStation. I guess he would never have thought. Oh man, that's amazing. That's too perfect. Good job, sir.
Yep.
Good job. All right. Woohoo. All right, Costa. That's all right. You are now 3 points behind, but it's okay. You can make it up if you can guess this one on this first line. You ready?
Okay.
Are you ready? Sure. Are you scared? Are you? No, I'm kidding.
No.
Anyway. I like the confidence there. No. All right. Line number 1. In the lengthy process of wresting control of the wasteland from its brutal, established warlords, you'll destroy their refineries, kill their top dogs, burn their fuel depots, and topple their gruesome intimidation totems.
Oh. Oh. I mean, it is screaming. All the verbiage sounds familiar to me, and it's screaming. But which one is it? This is like one of those, because, like, I'm thinking it's. I mean, you mentioned it. You mentioned Shadow of War, but would you really? But I don't. But they weren't referred to as top dogs. Like, that wasn't the word. Like, you had the warlords, and you had, like, the people below them in the rankings, the nemesis system and everything. So I feel with the amendment that we have with the question ask, I feel like if I go for the 3-pointer and I'm wrong and I maintain a 3-point deficit, then I don't think I'm ever going to catch up. I'm confident it's either Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor, but they're... Which one? Because they both have the Nemesis system.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't help you. At least not until after line number 2.
All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take a shot. I'm gonna say Shadow of War.
Oh no. And it wasn't Mordor either.
No.
No.
What was it?
Sorry. It was I have 2 lines. I won't read both lines. It was Mad Max. The game that came out in 2015. The second line would have been, you also collect scrap, the wasteland's currency, to upgrade individual pieces of armor, weapons, tools, combat moves, and even Blank's look. And then,
okay.
Sorry.
Well, I never played the Mad Max game, so I
had never played them either. I kind of wanted to stick with the whole kind of political theme I was doing earlier, but I couldn't think of like a good political game, so I just went with dystopia. I felt like that was a that was a fair trade-off. I can't find political, so I go with dystopia. Dystopian
sure.
wasteland.
All right. Well, that's all right.
Sorry, man.
No, I mean I took a risk and it didn't pay off. That's all right.
Yeah, I was hoping you weren't gonna go for it there, so then I could have at least given you some help there.
Honestly, but the question, since I wouldn't have included, even after the second clue, I wouldn't have included the Mad Max, so I wouldn't have even I felt like whatever question I would have asked wouldn't have led me to it.
Fair enough. Well, that's it. That's it for our show today, everybody. We hope you all enjoyed. If you haven't already, go out and vote. It's so important now more than ever. And as always, you can connect with us on Twitter and Facebook with @JumpButtonPod. Until next time, see you in the Funny Papers.